Good morning, everyone, and I am Councillor Ivan Jewell, Chair of the Corporate Parenting Panel. Can I say thank you for attending today? We welcome you to this remote Corporate Parenting Panel meeting, and hope you enjoy your time throughout the meeting. I won't be going through all of the script that we usually go through because we've been doing this for quite some time now. I would just remind you of a couple of issues. The first is I need to remind you that this meeting will be live streamed and it will be available on YouTube for at least 6 months. Can I also ask you to mute your mic when you're not speaking and only speak when you're invited to speak by me? If you wish to speak, could you type in the chat function RTS, request to speak, as that makes it easier to identify both the order and who wishes to speak. So can I just say welcome to everyone that is watching us live and any visitors that are in the meeting this morning. Let's move straight into the business of the day, and the first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chair, we have an apology from Wendy Taylor.
Thanks very much for that. And any substitute members?
No, Chair, we have no substitute members.
That's fine. So we'll move straight on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of December. It seems a lifetime ago, doesn't it? It's in pages 3 to 10 in your pack. Can we just go through that first of all for accuracy, please? And page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, and page 8. Has anyone any points they want to make on the accuracy of those minutes? I know it is quite a while ago. Thank you. That appears that that's not the case. Are there any matters arising, please? I'm just going back to my agenda, with, if you can bear with me just for 2 seconds. Okay, now can I ask, are there any declarations of interest, please? I'll give you time if you want to do that in the chat function. If there's no one records anything in the chat function, I'll take it as there are no declarations of interest. It looks as though there are no declarations of interest, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the update on the number of looked after children, which Helen will give us. Helen?
Morning, everybody. I'm Helen Ferguson, Head of Children's Social Care. So in terms of the numbers of looked after children as at today, it's 959 children that are currently in our care. You'll recall when we met 2 months ago, the figure was 960. So you can see that that is a fairly stable figure, and it continues to reflect some of the delays that we've experienced throughout COVID. The courts are up and running again and working through children's cases. but we think that we will continue to see those kind of numbers for a little while whilst we kind of work through some of the implications of the last few months of the pandemic. Ivan, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thanks very much. We move on to the next item on the agenda, update on residential children's homes. And we're going to have a verbal update on this.
Yes.
You again, Helen?
It is, yes. So it was just to bring everybody up to date in terms of some of the developments around our children's homes provision. I think I mentioned at the meeting a couple of months ago that we had made the decision to close Towlaw Children's Home, and that work has progressed, and there are no children living at Towlaw anymore. Our plan over to 2021 is to identify a new property and replace our provision at Towlaw with a new home, which will be a smaller home, a three-bedded children's home, which we think is more fit for purpose really for now and for the future needs of our children. We haven't identified a property yet, so I will just continue to keep you up to date as that search continues. The other significant development is that we have leased a property. You'll recall when we met last time that we had a quite detailed update about our plans for sufficiency, for the sufficiency strategy in County Durham, and that one of our intentions was to develop some smaller homes for some of our young people who have more complex needs and find it more difficult to live in larger groups. What we need is a number of properties that can look after either one or sometimes two young people. So we have identified a small property that is exactly that. It's in Coxo. It's been leased for 2 years to provide care for a specific young person who needs that kind of provision. And what we've decided, we started off working with a private provider who was offering care to that young person, and we've made a decision in recent weeks that we're going to provide the care through the council directly. So we're currently in the process of recruiting a staff team and a homes manager, and that will become effectively an additional children's home within our Durham County Council portfolio of children's homes, if you like. The current lease arrangement is for 2 years, and that will give us time to buy a property within that 2-year period, so that we will have that continued provision for years to come for our children and young people. So that is also a new development. And then the only other thing just to update you on is you'll all be aware that we have a new children's home in Sacriston. 2 children are currently living in that property. And we are well on the way to registering that with Ofsted. They are well on their way through the process of providing the formal registration. So that feels a very positive development. And again, I'll be able to update you in a couple of months about that. And the last thing just to mention is you all are aware that we are re-providing the children's home that's currently on the Aycliffe site. And again, those plans are progressing really well, and the children will be able to move into their new home within the next couple of months, again, as soon as Ofsted have finalised the registration process.
Thanks very much for that. Are there any questions? No questions, so can we move on to item 7 on the agenda, which is Regulation 44 visit commissioning arrangements. And we have a report from the Strategic Commissioning Manager. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mark Smith. I'm the Strategic Commissioning Manager for Durham County Council. So the purpose of the report is to provide the corporate parenting panel with an update on our intentions to carry out a commissioning exercise to outsource Regulation 44 visits for the Durham County Council community children's homes. As I'm sure panel members are aware, children's home providers are required to secure an independent visitor to visit each home at least monthly to make an impartial assessment of the home's arrangements for safeguarding the children in their care and promoting their day-to-day well-being. Since June of 2017, the Durham County Council Commissioning Service has undertaken the monthly Regulation 44 visits on behalf of Children and Young People Services. And this has been alongside members of the Corporate Parenting Panel who participate on a quarterly basis. A combination of factors have led to a need to review the current arrangements to ensure we can secure high quality independent Regulation 44 visits going forward. This has been linked to the findings of the Ofsted inspections of the Durham County Council Community Children's Homes and the growing involvement of commissioners in securing residential placements for children looked after, which has impacted upon the level of independence of the commissioners as they are undertaking their Regulation 44 visits. A benchmarking exercise was undertaken to explore the independent provider market and also gain an understanding across the regional local authorities in terms of their Regulation 44 arrangements. And then a series of options were developed, which were taken to the relevant Children and Young People Services management teams, who were asked to consider a number of options that are detailed in the report. Following discussion and deliberation, we have been asked to undertake a procurement exercise to secure an independent organisation to undertake the Regulation 44 visits for the community homes. This won't include the current secure homes that we have at the Aycliffe site, although the option will be available for those homes to be part of the contract potentially going forward, but it's felt at this stage we didn't want to destabilise the Regulation 44 arrangements for the secure homes. So at this stage, we're only looking at securing an independent organisation to undertake the visits for the Durham County Council community homes. We will ensure that as we develop the service specification, that the involvement of the corporate parent panel members is key to the delivery of the Regulation 44 visits going forward. So I wouldn't anticipate any changes with regards to that element of the service. So the corporate parent panel is asked to note the contents of the report and the intention of Durham County Council to undertake a procurement exercise to secure new arrangements for the Regulation 44 visits to the Durham County Council community children's homes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Mark. And does any member have any questions, please? So can I ask you to note the report, please?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
And we're now moving on to item 8, which is investing in children and care council update. And I believe, Rob, you are doing this, is that true? Or?
Mitchell's starting off it, and then it'll be myself.
Thanks very much for that. Thank you, Rachel.
Morning, everyone. So I'm Mitchell from the Durham Children and Care Council, run by Investing in Children, and I'm also here with Rob this morning. I'm going to go through a presentation which focuses on the activities Durham Children and Care Council have done during March 2020 until February 2021. So during that time, we've had 20 Children and Care Council meetings, 4 Children and Care Council newsletter planner meetings, giving young people the opportunities to put their articles in stories. And also we've had 4 Children and Care Council newsletters produced during that time, and they've been distributed and to all foster carers. We've also had 8 Children in Care Council members involved in the Summer Pack Project 2020, which secured £3,000 to implement a feel-good project during the COVID-19 pandemic, which was really positive. So I'm now going to hand over to Rob to go through the next slide.
Thanks, Mitchell. I'm Robert, a project manager within Invest in Children. That was well put together, Mitchell. Moving on to the second slide, we also went on to secure £2,000 to work with Full Circle team to enhance the therapy spaces input and designed by children and young people. It's something they wanted and it's something we're going to support with. Obviously, COVID's impacted upon that, but we are starting to connect with the teams virtually, and I think hopefully later on the summer we'll get out there and allow young people to maximise these spaces, which has included artwork coming in from young people across the county, which will be put into these spaces. The social work sessions moved from going to universities, moving to a virtual platform and process. 44 students have connected with that. Obviously, CIC have done a lot of work on language and relationships. We wanted to kind of take them key messages across to future social workers who potentially could be coming into Durham to work. We've also kind of connected with Son and Youth and Communities course where 16 students came together and learned about young people who are care experienced, their opinions, their ideas and their vision. The training is going really, really well, and I think there's opportunities to progress that further. So again, virtually, what we did with that over the last 2, we bring in younger members into that so they can learn and contribute to it. Which is fantastic because some of the young people who are obviously facilitating on that are moving on to university to train to be social workers. I have to say this, my vision with these young people come back into the council to be social workers. That'd be amazing. We connect with the IROs, we attend team meetings, we presented them. That's going really well, and what we've done there is set up a subgroup of younger members who are new to IIC. On a Saturday morning we meet in the school holidays with 2 senior IROs, and they just reflect on their experiences and share ideas. I think a big move and a big direction for CICC, I think other young people will agree, is the connection with Mel moving forward and teachers and education. I think that's going to be huge going forward this year and young people coming back into education. So we delivered a virtual session to over 50 designated leads. That wasn't me, that was delivered by young people. Key messages, them key messages are going to align to hopefully moving forward a policy around education and what kind of young people want who are care experience in regards to that. So that's fantastic. Moving on to the following slide. Yeah, we set website gone live on Care Day last Friday. That'll develop and change and shape. And I think the plan and the strategy is for that is to try and develop a role for some care leavers to have some involvement in that, to share information and to progress it and move it forward. And I'll work with Carol Gill and people like that to consider that. And I think there's a great opportunity there. Poetry, we did some really good stuff around poetry, which included the Children's Commissioner retweeting that to thousands and thousands of people. So that's fantastic because it just shows you the creativity in County Durham regarding children and young people, and secondly, children and young people who care experienced. And I think kind of that, again, I think what's worked well, and I think young people would agree, and I think corporate parent panel members would, and senior Durham County Council staff members would, is we took a presence to develop mini CPP meetings so young people could engage and share ideas and, you know, give their reflection and their opinion of what's been going on in the last year. And I think it's been fantastically well received. And I think there'll be more of that as we move forward. I just want to hand you back to Mitchell, who wants to pick on some of the topics and some of the impact over the last year. Thank you.
Yeah, so some of the topics and impacts what young people's put forward is friendships. So seeing friends really matters was discussed as being important to young people and is now part of care reviews. Another topic what's been really important to young people is animals care and the importance. Again, this was important to the young people and is aligned to relationship building. connecting with animals and live story work that promotes this. Also travel bursaries awareness, Durham County Council connecting with higher education colleges regarding different approaches to support students. Another one is the app development and involvement, Mind My Own app, what's going to go live for young people. Children friendly policing, working with Children's Commissioner team for England, aiming to train with the police in County Durham based on a report currently being produced by the Commissioner's team, which has been successful. Positive Matters, Challenging the Stigma campaign launched at corporate parent meetings. And the next slide moves on to developing education, focusing on policies with the virtual head, developing key messages from young people. We've also connected with Regional Care Council to discuss issues what matter to us and what's been successful with that. And new Children Care Council website is being developed, launched on Care Day 2021. Development of podcast, remote support, practice and learning in 2021. And we've also had 40 different young people which have connected with the Children in Care Council during this period, aged 8 to 21, and who are cared for by Durham County Council. And lastly, we would just like corporate parent members to read an article in the latest Children in Care Council newsletter written by a young man from Durham County Council Children's Home. The article is called Video Games, Good or Bad? We think it's a brilliant article and makes you think, so that's really well done. So that's a really positive story to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it, Robert? Or do you need to come back in?
No, other than there's a pilot podcast, we're working on it, and the young person behind that, when you get to hear it, he has a voice for the radio and he's fantastic. And so we will work with that young person and potentially connect with some of you to interview you on the podcast.
I look forward to that. So thanks very much for that, Mitchell, and thank you, Robert, too. It's good to see the sort of the work that that you're all doing, the positive work, and I would draw members' attention to the positive comments which have been recorded in the chat function, because there are some really positive comments in there, and we thank you very much for that. Does anyone like to ask any questions? Any member? Okay, so once again, thanks very much for your input. I'm just checking my chat function here. Yes, it's just another positive comment. Oh, sorry, Joyce Charlton, Councillor Charlton.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. It was just on the subject of the pets. I must admit I have seen a real positive in one of my local schools with they have a school dog, and a lot of the children who are struggling mentally with mental health issues, the dog has been instrumental in helping those children. And that really stuck out for me in the report this morning. And I think it's a wonderful idea that children do have pets, or that have access to pets that they can engage with.
That's fine. Thanks very much for that contribution. I believe we're going to have a short update on the pet situation later on in the meeting, but thanks very much for that, Councillor Charlton. Is anyone else required to speak or request to speak? I can't see anyone, so can we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 9, Corporate Parenting Strategy for Children and Young People. I believe this item is there for information only. Is that correct, Helen?
It is, Chair, yes. Those of you'll recall that we shared quite a bit of the detail that sits within the new corporate parenting strategy back at the end of last year. So this is the final version of the document that's there for information. I'm happy to take any questions, but I think we did cover a lot of that ground back at the end of 2020.
Does any member have any questions for Helen? There's no one requesting to speak. I'll give a couple of seconds before moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 10, and that's care leaver strategy, the annual report from Head of Children's Social Care again. Thank you.
So Carol Gill is here to talk to the report and the presentation around care leavers.
Yeah, hiya. Morning everyone, I'm Carol Gill, I'm Operations Manager for Looked After and Care Leavers. So just to give everybody an update on the annual update for the care leavers and what we've been doing over the last year. So in relation to the accommodation offer that we have for our care leavers, we've been continuing to look at all of our options, and we've got a range of accommodation options which is massively improved. We've got some really very good providers that we work with now, and we work very closely with our colleagues in commissioning in regularly reviewing services and contractors to make sure that we have got the best resources for our care leavers. As people have probably been made aware of over the last couple of years, we opened Headley House, and that continues to be an excellent resource for care leavers. So there was 10 self-contained flats there, and we have a lot of support going in to encourage young people to move into independent living and the pathways to being more independent in the community, and that is really successful. We're very proud of that. We're doing work, we're working very closely with our colleagues in housing, and we're looking at Durham Letting Agency, and that's where we look at different houses that are available across Durham, and we look to try to move our care leavers into them tenancies, and we try to get them into the area where they choose to work, and that's a real close joined up working that we do with Durham Letting Agency. Central to all of that, we've got a post which is in the Young People Service, and that person, Lauren Burns, she's a dedicated accommodations and supporting officer, and she holds all of that together and supports us in looking for the right accommodation and getting all of the agencies together that we work with to make sure that we're offering the right support. That role's been really crucial to improving our quality of service, so we're very pleased with that. Our numbers have increased in relation to stay and put arrangements, which is what we want, because obviously we look after our care leavers now up to 25, and we have a lot of care leavers who are remaining with their foster carers, and a lot of them young people, we're really proud to say that we've got 30 young people who are at university this year, and that is the highest that we've ever had. So we really want to shout loudly about that, because it's something we're extremely proud of. But what we're also proud of is that they can go back to the homes during term time, during holidays, and they've got that support. So, you know, that is a real big success story. We've, like I say, we're very proud of that. In relation to the accommodation, just in relation to some performance, so you've got oversight of it. For our 17 and 18-year-olds, we've got 88% which are in suitable accommodation. Them figures are really high, not just across Durham, but across the North East. So, you know, it is really it's a positive offer that we have there as well. And the accommodation for our 19 to 21-year-olds is much higher, and that's 95%. We've managed to maintain that at that level for some time as well. So, you know, it is all going, it's all work going in the right direction, and that just is evidence of the joined up working that we're doing with our colleagues. In relation to education, employment and training opportunities for our care leavers, We work very closely again with Durham Works. They are central in supporting us into getting our young people into training and further offers of apprenticeships. And we've been doing a lot of work with our colleagues in HR. And what we always do is make sure that we can offer young people interviews if they meet the criteria, so that they've got the first foot in the door, if you like, to be able to go for these job opportunities which are available in the council. So we're very proud of that. And just to, you know, evidence that, we've got a young girl who is a care leaver who is working as an apprentice in the Young People's Service. And just in relation to what Rob was saying earlier about permanent positions, she will be applying for a personal advisor position that is becoming available. So we've really got our fingers crossed that she's successful there, because that is what we would be very proud to see if we had a care leaver who was employed permanently in the Young People's Service. So fingers crossed all of that will go well. So across the council, we've currently got 7 care leavers who are working as apprentices. They've got apprenticeships within the council, but needless to say, we want to increase them because we want to get more involvement, and we're going to do everything we can to try to promote that through the local offer. And we've certainly got our temporary chief exec on board, and we've got a meeting arranged with him, with a few young people and Children in Care Council soon. So he's going to be taking on that responsibility the same as Terry Collins did. So we're proud to have that support and look forward to them meetings. So again, just to balance it in relation to the performance, we've got 70% of young people who are in employment, education and training, and 65%, that's 17 to 18 year olds, and 65% who are 19 to 21 year old. Just to add a bit of caution to that performance, because I think when you hear that performance information, you might think that that is not massively high as it has been. But as you all know, we're talking during the current pandemic, and I think for us to achieve them that performance at this time is really something that is being very well managed. So I think I myself am surprised that we've been able to maintain them high levels. So hopefully they will continue to increase, but I think it's still good that we've managed to be where we're at the moment. So just going on to future developments and what we're hoping to achieve. One of the big things which is impacts here on corporate parenting and across the whole of the council is our strengthening and developing of the local offer. That work will never end. There's always a lot of work to do there. It's continuous, and it's about us all working together to develop our offer for care leavers. I think that's all I should have the opportunity to say at this point, because it is a big, wide-ranging development, and we do take a lot of that back to the care leavers steering group and do that work in there. We're looking at introducing the clear-cut communications tool, and that is exactly what it says. We need to understand what level of communication and understanding our young people have. We're going to be training staff. This is an approach that has been developed through Youth Justice Service, and it's very highly regarded in relation to the outcomes and understanding of how we communicate with our children. So that's a new area that we're looking to develop, and we're looking forward to getting that put across the whole of the services. We I think most members know we have got identified a care leavers hub. This is something which we've been trying to look at developing for some time now, but I'm pleased to say that we have got a care leavers hub. The premises is identified, it's in Sherburn Hill, and work will be starting on that building in March to look to get some of the refurbishment done so that we can get into the hub when we're allowed and start doing a lot of direct work with young people as well as group work, and I see that as a real exciting opportunity for us to develop our links with organisations, and that's voluntary and you know, other organisations to support care leavers. Pilot for staying close is something that we're looking at. Nationally, there is 7 local authorities across the country who are involved in pilots for staying close. We are waiting for the DFE to give us guidance on the outcomes of the 7 pilots, but we're not just holding back and waiting for that. We can see from some of the pilots and some of the models that are being used, and we will be starting to see how we can develop that, you know, before we get all of that information. So that's work that I'm working closely with Claire Morris on, and we will start to develop that further over the next year. I think that really covers it in relation to the main areas that we are going to be looking to develop in the year. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Carol, and thank you for the positive sort of feedback that you've given us. I'm aware that it's been a very difficult time for all of us, and probably things don't move in this sort of climate the way we would, at the rate we would like it. But it's good to see that things are still moving in the right direction. So thanks very much for that report. I'm now going to pass over to, let's see, Councillor Anne Reid, who has requested to speak.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Carol, as well. It's good to see that you're doing so much work to help these young people, and they are benefiting. It's brilliant to see that, you know, how many young people are actually in education or in employment. Brilliant. One of the things I just wanted to ask was, you know, when these young people get to 17, 18-year-olds and they've sort of lived with foster carers, they've been supported very well by them foster carers, they then want to move on and live independently. You know, the transition from moving from, you know, that care, you know, the foster carers home into a place of their own can actually be quite daunting. I don't think that the young people they have different expectations, don't they? But I was just wondering, is the support there for these young people, and if so, what kind of support is there so that that transition is for them is an easy one, and for the years after that? So if they move into a home at sort of 18, what support is there up till the, say, 25 or before that? Yeah,
thanks for that, Councillor Reid. There's a number of areas. I mean, first of all, like we say, if young people are wanting to stay with the foster carers and we can look at a stay and put arrangement, then that is something we would look to do. The work starts way beyond a young person gets to 18 years of age, and the pathway plan should be completed or is completed for when the young person's 16. And that pathway plan does set out all of that support that's required to help that young person through their journey into adulthood. Thankfully, we're all grateful for the fact that the government has increased the responsibility for care leavers up to 25. And, you know, we're hoping that that doesn't just stop, as we all know from our own children, once you get to 25. So that work is still ongoing, and each young person has a personal advisor appointed to them, and they are the people who will be with them up until the age of 25 if required, and will support them through all of their areas of development which is required. So they have got that person who will work with them. We're doing a lot of work at the moment with the transitions team, and that's for our working towards looking at clear pathways for our young people who move into adult services. So they, as you would expect, are our young people who have got real high complex needs, and we know that they will be requiring a service from adult services for a very long time, maybe. So I think that pathway is becoming much more strengthened and clearer, and we've got the support to help us through there. I think the accommodation options, which I've just touched on earlier, are much more there's much more choice now than we have had for some time. And we also have support from the Edge of Care and Support and Solutions, and they've got workers there now who help support us with some children who are experience some further difficulties and may need that additional support. So it is wide ranging, and it is down to individuals, and it is down to their needs, and that pathway plan is what we really need to strengthen to make sure that all of the needs are identified and the support needs of the young people are there.
Oh, well, thank you. That's, yes, so they have got a great deal of support there. They're not just left to their own devices.
Certainly not, no.
Not at all, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Carol.
Thank you, Councillor Reid, and also thank you, Carol. Could I just check with Councillor Charlton that you no longer want to speak?
That's right. Thanks, Chair. Carol answered my question in the rest of our presentation. Thank you.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure
That's
that
fine.
we weren't leaving you out. So can we move on now to Councillor George Richardson, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's just a statement, really, to say that I'm highly delighted to find that there's now 30 young people attending university. When I first joined the corporate parenting panel years ago, it wasn't an option. There was a young lady who came to me who I tried to help, but as I say, it just wasn't an option. So I'm highly delighted with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, George. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Well, thanks very much. Can we just move that report, please? And then move on to our next item on the agenda, which is item 11, which is a performance update. So can we hand over for whoever's given the performance update, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm Laura Malone, the Strategy Team Leader for Children and Young People Services at the Council. And I'll just share some slides on the screen, which just pull out some of the key points from the full Q3 performance report that was received. Can everybody see that?
Yes, I can certainly see it. Thank you.
Yeah. So as Helen mentioned at the start of the meeting, we've got a relatively stable number of children looked after, but we did see some increases during this year. But that was primarily due to the number of children leaving care, which reduced. In relation to initial health assessments, that did reduce slightly in Q3 and work's ongoing at the moment with NHS colleagues in CDDFT to have a look at that. So in the quarter, 64% of children received their initial health assessment within 20 days of coming into care. The next slide then looks at some of the placement information for our children and young people in care. So some of the areas where we've seen some changes, particularly with more children placed in external residential care and a slightly lower number of children in in-house foster care. And some of that were direct impacts of COVID, with foster carers maybe not wanting to take on new children during the pandemic. In relation to health assessments and dental checks, again, they've both reduced and again, direct impacts of COVID on that. with during that period, obviously the availability of appointments and being able to access them services. And with regards to missing children, between April and December 21, children in care have been reported as missing, and that accounted for 45 different missing episodes. But obviously that is a relatively small number of our overall looked after population. And I think positive to note that all of the missing episodes did result in a return to home interview being offered, and of all those young people who accepted the return to home interview, they have all been completed. And it was also just a point to note that the vast majority of the incidents, so almost 3/4 of them missing episodes, were where the child was only missing for less than 8 hours. And the last slide really was just to pick up on, it's just covering really the points that Carol's just outlined in relation to the relatively positive performance that we are still seeing for our care leavers at the moment in relation to accommodation, suitability, and education, employment and training. So that's the end of the presentation there.
Thanks very much for that, Laura. Thank you. Can I just ask a question, please? The missing children may look quite large. The number of missing children might look quite large. Can we say sort of how worrying that is? I mean, I realise that children can be missing for all sorts of reasons, and it might just be for a short period of time. But is that number of missing children over the period any cause for concern?
I think it has remained relatively low this year, with only sort of maybe, I think the highest number just within one individual month was 8 children missing. In our previous data, I think that has been a lower number this year than it has been previously.
That's fine. Thanks very much for that. Is there any other member would like to speak, please? Ask a question. Okay, Councillor Reid.
Oh yeah, thank you, Chair. Thanks as well, Laura. I was just going to ask, you know, that figure for the missing children, would that be is that 40, 43 or 45 different children, or is within that, is that maybe the same child that's gone missing a few times?
Yeah, so the missing figures, so there's 21 children overall that have been missing, but there's 45 different missing episodes, so where some children have been missing more than once in the period.
All right, yeah, so 21 children, yeah, who's sort of gone off a couple of times, yeah, and then come back. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Can I bring Helen in now, please?
Yeah, it was just to add, we made a decision towards the end of last year that we would recruit a dedicated person to coordinate all of the work around children who are missing. So you'll all be very familiar with the work of the Erase team. What we wanted to do was have a kind of single point of contact, if you like, so that somebody had oversight of all of the missing episodes, that they could follow up, they could offer a degree of independence to our children and young people in relation to having a return home interview. There's lots of evidence to suggest that children sometimes find it easier to talk to a more independent person about where they've been and why they've been missing. But what it also allows us to do is to see patterns. So if we have a number of young people across County Durham and they're all going missing, but they're all going to the same place, then it allows us to track some of the kind of hotspot areas and those kinds of things. So we've had that person in place now for a number of months, and we are starting to see some of that kind of closing of the loop, if you like, to make sure that all of those children and young people have that offer, but also that we can really share that intelligence with police colleagues, and really understand what is happening for those children and young people, where they're going and what we might need to do in relation to disruption activity and such like. Thanks very
much for that. And can I say thanks very much to Laura? It's good to see a new face, or new to me anyway, and probably new to the panel. That was very useful, Laura. Let's see where we are now. As we move on, it's item 12, which is such other business as in the opinion of the chair is of sufficient importance and urgency? Well, we do. We remember that over the last few meetings, what we have done is we have asked Claire to present a positive story so that we all sort of got a feel of the positive things that were happening. So can I hand over to Claire now, please?
Thank you, Chair. So I'm Claire Morris. I'm the Strategic Manager for Children Looked After Resources. And one of the stories I'm going to share today comes from a number of our children's homes, in particular 2 of the children's homes who have done this piece of work. So at Christmas time, there is a Durham company who all share some of their money, etc., to buy presents for the children and young people in our children's home. And this year, because of COVID and lockdown, the Christmas list that our young people created was quite a long and extensive list. As you can imagine, that Santa list was quite huge. And this company rose to the challenge of that big Santa list and put extra contributions in and bought presents for all of the children in the children's homes, ranging from things like bread makers, bikes, scooters, nail art kits, creative sand, and a whole host of other things. Our young people were so pleased at the fantastic gifts that they got that they used the IT skills that they've been developing over the lockdown and took various photos of the gifts coming, what the presents looked like under the Christmas tree, getting on that new bike for the first time. And they collected all of these photos and thank you cards, put them all together and made it into an electronic montage, a bit of a video clip where the different photos streamed in with the thank you cards, the young people riding their bike for the first time, pulled it all together and sent it to this company on behalf of all of the children's homes. And it is absolutely fantastic. I've got to say, I did have a few tears. I was so proud of how brilliant their IT skills were, how proud it was that they were driving on their new bikes and scooters and doing these stunts. I did have a few moments of like, when I seen some of the stunts, but it's absolutely brilliant. And the IT skills are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So that's the proud moment for this month. And I'm sure you'll appreciate how brilliant that is. And what a fantastic memory for those young people as well. So that goes into their memory box, and that's their memories that they'll take with them as well from that time living in their home. So I hope that brings a smile to everybody else's face as well.
Yes, thanks very much for that, Claire. And Claire, while you're speaking, would you like to tell us about an update about the pets, please?
Yes, so following on from a number of conversations we've had in the Children in Care Council meetings, we went back to the young people in the children's homes and we said, what does that look like? What do you want? And we now have a range of different animals. Some of our homes, some of our young people now have hamsters. One young person actually took their hamster with them to look at a new home because they wanted to make sure that hamster was happy, not just them, with their move, and that their hamster would be appropriately cared for. And a key bit for them was to make sure that the staff and the other young people in that home responded well to their hamster, because their hamster was really important. And now all of the children in the home have hamsters. We also have dog, so it's fostering your dog days. So a number of the staff within the home have pet dogs, Labradors, cockadoodles, all kinds of different dogs. And we actually have dogs that come into the home now where the young people take care of the dog for the day. They go on dog walks together, they do dog grooming, and it's fantastic. And even when I rang one of the homes the other week, one of the young people was there with their onesie, cuddled up on the settee with the dog, watching a film. So it's just absolutely fantastic to see that change. We have one of our homes has an allotment, so we've had a bit of an increase in chickens, across the residential establishment as well, both on the allotment and in one of the gardens as well, where the young people are not just growing their own vegetables, they're also taking care of some chickens now. So there's quite a lot of activity and excitement around that, and things are progressing really well. The young people's safety plans and the plans and the discussions that we have with young people when they're moving in and moving on all now include a section on their pets. So their pets, not just the ones in the home, but their pets that they go and see as part of their family time or they want to keep in contact with. So there's quite a lot of activities happened in the homes, and that's also been replicated in the fostering service as well. So as part of the initial training and the update training, we have a big focus on the importance of pets and the relationships that young people have with their pets and how important they are. And then again, reciprocal conversations are happening in fostering around the importance of pets and young people having a different range of pets as well. We haven't been able to get a horse, but what we have done is make sure that we've linked up with somebody who has a horse. So one of our young people goes and supports them cleaning out the stable, nurturing the horse, feeding the horse and spending time with the horse. But we haven't been able to go as far yet as getting our own paddock and horses. But I'm sure I'll be able to bring that back in a few years' time when we've succeeded and got that.
Thanks very much for that, Claire. It's becoming the highlight of the meeting, and I think we're all looking forward to it. It's sort of been a recent addition, but it's certainly been a pleasurable one and a positive one. So we thank you very much for that. Before I pull Carol Gill in, is there any members wish to ask Claire any questions or make any comments, please? So can we bring Carol Gill in, please, now?
Yeah, highest. I just wanted to mention, I think the thought of Christmas just seems a long way in the past for me at the moment, but obviously I realise there hasn't been a meeting since then. So I think first of all, on behalf of all of the staff and the care leavers, we really want to thank the support we got from Corporate Parenting Panel for our young people at Christmas, because that was amazing, and that the support that we received was really beneficial. I think this year we were quite overwhelmed by a lot of the support we got from other people, and I was contacted by Judge Scully, who is from Newcastle Combined Court, and all the judges and lawyers and solicitors across the North East decided that they were going to get together and do some fundraising for care leavers. And that was really, really well received. I went up to Newcastle to meet Judge Scully, and we come back with cars full of goodies for our young people, and we put a lot of hampers together and provided a lot of support. But generally, the profile for care leavers over Christmas, it was unbelievable how that profile had been raised and how many people wanted to support us. I think you would think you could never have too much, but I think we did at Christmas. We had offices full of contributions, like I say, from yourself and from wider ranging than we've ever had, and we were all massively overwhelmed by that, and I'm speaking on behalf of all the staff. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Carol, for that. Another good news story, which is, it's always good to hear these good news stories, isn't it? So thanks very much for that. Can I now call in Councillor Scott, please?
Oh, hi. Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to say how wonderful it's been to hear all these positive stories this morning, and you know, say it's a real credit to the staff who are putting so much effort in. Particularly the animal stories are just wonderful to hear, and the Children in Care Council earlier. So it's all good. I often feel emotional in these meetings, and sometimes not for the right reasons, but today that's all been good, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. I think we can all take that as a compliment. Thank you. I'm just looking, there's someone else asking to speak here. Councillor Gunn.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, Chair. I'm absolutely delighted by all of those good news stories. They really are good, and you know, I really think that all of our staff and the Children in Care Council, everything that has occurred during what's been one of the most difficult times we've had to go through. It's been quite extraordinary, and the stories that I've had in my regular meetings with Helen and with other officers regarding various aspects of the work that is carried out is just brilliant. I'm very grateful for that. But I did want to just say one other thing, which is a compliment to the corporate parenting panel, because some of you may know that I chair the North East Regional Children and Young People's Service Lead Members Network. That's a bit of a mouthful, but it's basically the Children and Young People's Services portfolio holders from Tees Valley and obviously Durham and north of Durham, all the local authorities. And it was a while ago. It was actually before we were having the virtual meetings, which we have been having consistently, regularly. In fact, we've doubled the number of meetings since the COVID occurred, because there was so much that we needed to talk about. But prior to that, there was one of the meetings where we had a presentation from some of the portfolio holders on corporate parenting panels. Now, Councillor McKeon and I shared that presentation, and the feedback actually was just recent, that what was presented there from Councillor McKeon and myself about the model that we had in County Durham, some of that's been adapted in other authorities, and I think that that's a mark of really the excellent work that the corporate parenting panels carried out. So I just wanted to pass that message on. It's worth saying, and it was also a National Local Government Association workshop I was on last week, where we were talking about different models of corporate parenting. I've got to say that I really think that what we have here is absolutely excellent. So it's worth passing that on, Chair. It's just been excellent work through a very difficult time. Thank you for indulging me with that.
Thank you, Councillor Gunn, and thank you for your kind comments. What I would like to add at this point in time is I'd like to thank officers who have, not only have we had these virtual meetings where we've been kept informed, but myself and the Vice Chair have also had additional meetings to keep us informed with the happening, and that has been very, very useful. In addition to that, Helen has produced updates and has had members of her team to produce updates so that we were aware of what was happening during this rather difficult period. I mean, communications are quite different, and it's good to see that we are still operating in a positive way. So can I say thank you, Helen, and can you pass on my thanks and the thanks of the committee for keeping us up to date throughout this period. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really appreciated, and as you know, the support that the panel and yourselves provide to us in as officers in terms of the work that we do is hugely valued, and I think you've heard some of that today through the work that Carol's described and others. So many thanks to you all as well. Thanks very much. We've now reached that part of the meeting where we need to exclude the public. So I will ask for a mover to exclude any members of the public and media to enable us to discuss items containing exempt information. Could I have a mover, please?
Yes, I'll move that, Chair, that we move into Part B, where members of the public and media are not with us.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith, and can we have a seconder, please?
I'll second that. Councillor Pauline Craythorne.
Thank you, Councillor Craythorne. We will now just wait for a while to give a chance for those that are no longer able to stay with us to leave the meeting. Jane?
Hiya there. I just wanted to flag that Councillor Tucker's resigned from the Labour group and therefore is no longer a member of Corporate Parenting Panel. So it was just an opportunity to kind of wish her the best and just to say that we'll be looking for a representative in due course who will join the Corporate Parenting Panel.
Thank you for that, Jane. I had intended doing that at the end of the Part B, but that is fine. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Jake, has the broadcast ended?